Welcome to The Explainer. If you've been watching the news lately and feeling like society is just spinning completely out of control, well, you're definitely not alone. But today, we're exploring ideas that completely challenge how we view this national dysfunction. Instead of seeing it as a downward spiral, we're going to look at why this national crisis might actually be the exact opportunity we need for a massive public awakening, especially as we head into the AI era. So, we really have to ask ourselves a fundamental question, and it demands a massive paradigm shift. It forces us to look at societal frustration not as some terrible mistake, but as a necessary shock to the system. When we see failing policies or intense political infighting, our default reaction is to think the system is just broken, right? But we need to pause and question that. What if the turbulence isn't a bug in the system, but a deliberate feature? Okay, the source material makes a pretty bold assertion here. There is nothing wrong in the world. The argument is that incompetent leadership isn't an error, but actually a perfectly accurate reflection of the public's current level. It's meant to serve as a catalyst. Basically, if unqualified individuals are running the show, it's because the collective environment allowed it to happen. It's like a giant mirror. If the reflection is ugly, it's a signal that we need to evolve and change ourselves rather than just complaining about the mirror. Here is our roadmap for today. We're going to start with public awakening through crisis, look at the absence of spiritual leaders, contrast knowledge versus truth, explore the mission of baby boomer intellectuals, check out role changes in the AI era, and wrap up with humanity's planner. Let's dive in.
All right, moving to our first point, public awakening through crisis.
According to the lecture, when policies fail and create immense hardship, like sudden massive tax hikes, it's not just bad luck. Think of it like an evolutionary pressure cooker. If burdens are raised by just a tiny fraction, people grumble, sure, but they stay complacent. A massive, shocking hike, however, that creates undeniable hardship. And this severe hardship is the precise mechanism required to break public apathy. It literally forces citizens to stop being passive complainers, to unite, and to spark a massive growth in national consciousness. The crisis is an opportunity for the public to wake up and take true ownership. Which brings us to Section 2, the absence of existing spiritual leaders. Now, usually, when society is in turmoil, we look to spiritual leaders for direction, right? But the source strongly points out that right now there is a massive void. Instead of helping the public awaken, it argues that many of these institutions have devolved into massive cartels. They're heavily focused on self-preservation, allegedly targeting vulnerable, wealthy individuals and trading superficial comfort for financial gain. By relying on obsolete blind faith, they prioritize personal status over actual spiritual guidance, totally failing to provide the answers that a modern, educated public desperately needs. Let's look at Section 3, the difference between knowledge and truth. To fix this leadership void, we need a specific kind of tool. The text calls it Negong, or inner strength. Now, having a PhD or reading 1,000 books gives you foundational knowledge, which is great. But actually, scratch that. It's just not enough anymore on its own. Negong is the spiritual density that comes from internalizing actual truth. Without this high-density wisdom, intellectuals are easily crushed by the sheer complexity of today's global issues. You simply cannot solve high-level societal problems with low-level inner strength. Next up is Section 4, the mission of baby boomer intellectuals. So this brings us to a distinct challenge for the baby boomer generation of highly educated intellectuals. They were raised by consuming the massive resources and sacrifices of broader society. Now, looking down the barrel of an extended 100-year lifespan, their mission isn't just to retire quietly or scramble for basic survival jobs. The source notes that if highly educated people settle for menial work just to get by, it leads to profound psychological misery and creates a ripple of depression throughout society. They owe it to humanity to use their education for high-level problem solving. Let's move to Section 5, role changes in the AI era. And here is the technological elephant in the room. Competing with AI on technical tasks, that is a losing battle. AI will always be the faster hands and feet. So, what is the right path? The absolute correct answer for intellectuals today is the philosophy of Hongyi Kingan, living and dedicating your work to benefit all of humanity. While AI automates the manual labor, humans absolutely must step up to design our cultural future. We have to research new social paradigms and modernize deep concepts like Hil or filial piety for the 21st century. And guys, there is intense urgency to this shift. We aren't talking about abstract changes decades from now. AI is already automating tasks 1,000 times faster than us. The timeline notes autumn 2025 as a fundamental energetic shift for the planet's operational mass. And within just 3 to 5 years, quantum computing is projected to completely redefine everything from basic science to military paradigms. If human intellectuals are still clinging to obsolete jobs, they'll be swept away. We have to elevate our roles immediately.
Finally, let's wrap up with Section 6, Hongik Ingan and Humanity's Planner.
This all culminates in a pretty grand vision. The lecture concludes that Korea's ultimate destiny isn't in manual production, it's acting as humanity's planning agency. The awakened intellectuals who have cultivated their inner truth are meant to draft the blueprints for our global future. And this ties perfectly back into the chaos we started with. The political and societal friction wasn't meaningless. It was the exact forge required to shape these global architects, pushing them to design solutions that elevate the entire world.
So the chaos around us isn't a sign of the end. It was the exact evolutionary pressure needed to wake us up and forge the architects of tomorrow. By understanding the true philosophy of Hongik Ingan, we can stop complaining about the reflection in the mirror and start taking real ownership. So the question is, will you build your inner strength and take your rightful place as a planner for humanity? Think about that, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.